we are going to recap of a new to this channel show, but it's a show that I've watched for years, about 6 years I've watched religiously. Have you ever seen the whole show?
No, of course not.
Have you seen any episode? I've watched them 100 times. So
yeah, I've walked in and out of the room with you watching them, yes.
The show is Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders Making the Team. This is season 15, episode 1, like no other. And I know that nobody wants to watch me recap a show alone, so I peer pressured John into watching it with me. And I told him he didn't have to really watch. He could play Among Us, he could read
Which
Reddit.
I did.
He could do all that.
Which we're sponsored by.
No, we are not sponsored by anyone, I wish. Anyway.
We do wish.
We do wish. For those of you who are waiting to hear, yes, we will be doing Sister Wives when it comes back. We'll be doing Seeking Sister Wife if they ever bring it back. I don't know if they're ever going to bring it back. But if you want to really help us out, I would recommend getting a sister wife or another wife.
Buy her books if you want to help us out.
You can buy my books. But you can also get on TLC with a new show so you have something else to recap. Anyway. So I'm mostly going to be recapping the show, and John will be, as always, throwing his opinion when he feels it will be most disruptive to the recap.
Sounds good.
So this season, obviously, is our pandemic season. I wasn't sure...
What do you mean?
I wasn't sure if they were going to have this season at all. But they're doing the bubble thing that a lot of NFL shows are doing. So... if you've not watched Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders or seen the show, the way it typically works is they have an open call, hundreds of girls show up, they get like, they do like a 2-minute freestyle dance in front of them, and they get a yes, no, or maybe, and they don't explicitly say that they're judging them on looks, but they're judging them on looks and body. I think as you watch the seasons, that has faded out, where they don't really talk about the girls' bodies, which is appropriate to not do. But, you know, they also judge on things like winded. Like, if you're winded after a 2-minute dance, you cannot handle the show. In general, they tend to be young and really extremely beautiful, but they say stuff like, oh, I don't know if they'll be able to keep up with the pace. Anyway, they do that. They come back the next day. They have to learn 8 counts and kind of a mini kick line. They do that again. And then the people who pass that get, I think about 100 get called back for the first round, and then usually 20 or whatever get called into training. Then they do, if they pass, oh gosh, how does that work? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Go watch one of those seasons. And then they also do a choreographed dance. Well, and then they whittle it down.
What hope do I ever have of understanding any of that?
Anyway, I watched these episodes like 1,000,000 times, and now I suddenly can't remember what the steps are. I think it's the 8 counts, and then they cut down from that again in half to like 50. And then they go with the veterans, and they do a choreographed dance to show off their best work. And then from that, all of the judges, there's like 10 of them, judge on things like look, likability, performance, all that kind of stuff, and they whittle it down to, usually I think it's about, there's 36 on the team, maybe about 50 make it into training camp, and so then they have candidates and veterans. This year, if I remember correctly, they not all the veterans choose to re-audition, and usually almost every season a couple of veterans don't make the final cut. They've cut veterans for things like being late. If they were in the previous season, if they had, they were late to a lot of important events.
Oh, I do remember. They don't cut you for nepotism, right? That was one of them.
Yes, that was several seasons ago. But poor Victoria proved it last year, and she really got. Social media punished her for what Kelly and Judy did not. Anyway, yes, legacy girls. Anyway, that's a typical year. This year it's all different. Because of COVID, they kind of implied in the intro that they were like setting it up when COVID just suddenly appeared. And I was like, we knew about COVID in December. We knew it was coming. I heard about it. I mean, I didn't know it would be this, but you heard about it, and then I have friends in Europe, and so it came, hit there a lot earlier than it did here. But, it's not like this was totally unknown. So I'm guessing what happened was they were hoping that it would just go away and they could have a normal season. And so instead they did something totally different. It's actually kind of exciting as a viewer. Wouldn't you agree?
No.
So they submitted 2 videos, a 2-minute dance that they had choreographed. I would say that I noticed a lot of the good videos looked like they had very high production value, i.e. cost a lot. We're in a private training room at a private studio, and so you're a little bit like, okay. And then they had like a personal introduction, and then from that, they immediately cut down to 20 girls that were going to go into the bubble, which is what the NFL is using. That was a theory a lot of sports, which is like you come in, you stay in this bubble, you can't leave. So if you don't have COVID when you come in, no one can catch it. That's kind of the theory. They all have matching pink masks to match their outfit. I noticed that they had pink masks, but then they would be 6 feet apart, but then they'd be 1 foot apart, but then they wouldn't have the mask, they wouldn't have the, anyway. They're staying at some big resort. They have one whole tower to themselves. So I guess we're just supposed to assume everyone was safe, and so there you go. We don't see the veterans yet, though it looks like, I paused a few times, they have their board and they have everybody in order, and it looks like quite a few of our veterans from last year are below the 36 line. It looked like Lily Cat, Meredith, and, oh gosh, the girl who was always looking down. What is her name? You'll know who I mean if you've seen the show before. She was cut 2 seasons ago because she was flirting with the floor, and then she did really well last year. But when I paused, it looks like a number of veterans are below that cut. And, you know, Kat and Meredith barely made it through. And I like both of them, and so I'd be bummed if we lost them this year. But, you know, if you don't earn your spot, you don't earn your spot. Kat's probably one of my favorites personality-wise. I'd watch her do anything. Anyway... and then before they arrived, they learned 17. So they were like, maybe we'll do this in the future. Because now they don't have to teach the dances. They just have the 17 and they can just judge them. So we go through, they do them in groups of 5. We saw tons of incredible talent, really cute girls. We'll kind of get to know them. If John doesn't know this, but they always try to they try to introduce you to them, but you only ever end up watching the people who are on the bubble. So the storylines you follow tend to be the people who either get cut at the last minute, or you're really rooting for, or have a great story, or just barely skate through. So like Lily Cat, Meredith were the ones that I felt like we watched all last season, which is why it'd be a bummer if we lost them this season. Kristen, I think, was the one who flirted at the floor. So... they did all that, and then they did some room visits, and they kind of at this point are just saying like, hey, you better step it up. Better get on it. Do you have anything you'd like to add? Thank you so much for watching it with me.
I love you.
I love you too. It's always fun. Do you want to say anything sarcastic for the fans?
Nope.
I will tell you one big benefit of this. We were watching, and he goes, you know what? Rather watch The Polygamists. So there you go. He's excited for Sister Wives. So we will see you guys later. Bye.